Hi there, welcome to my first ever YouTube video. I'm super excited, but I'm just gonna hold it. I'm just gonna hold it together. I am Stephanie Kadiri, but you can call me StephREDD. Red because it just happens to be my favorite color, hence the emphasis on the double D and the fact that this is in capital letters. And on this my channel, I am going to be doing every single one of my favorite things, from singing to dancing to cheering to inspiring you, from my wealth of knowledge as a communication and identity expert and a life coach, certified life coach and CBT practitioner. I'm just going to be talking in different things while being myself. So there are no wrong or right answers here, and there are no this is how it should be done or this is how it should be done. The ability to come to the fullness and truth of who you are and expressing yourself from a depth and from an understanding that whoever you're giving of yourself is for you and also to impact the people around you would help you know how best to keep showing up without pressure or those kind of things that actually get you anxious and make you lose your self-confidence sometimes. So those and many other things are the things I'm going to be talking about on my channel, and you are welcome once again to my channel. Today, I'm going to be talking about my first topic today is communication. And I'm picking particularly on the topic, what is your communication style? Now, in studying and researching and having engaged with people several times over, I have come to realize that people do not actually know how they show up. And we don't realize that every time we show up, there's a perception that is being exuded from us. And it's that perception that people draw from to perceive us. This is pretty much my perspective from study, from experience, from engaging with people, from coaching people as a coach, from training people as a trainer, from several engagements as a therapist, from several engagements as a teacher. I have seen this particular thing happen to people, and they do not know that it's a lack of understanding of their communication style that is making it difficult for them to engage with people the way they want or love to engage with them. So what are the communication styles? I'll talk about it shortly. Let's have a drink of water. And yes, I am back. So there are 4 kinds of communicators. It's either you are a passive communicator, you are a passive-aggressive communicator, you are an aggressive communicator, or you are an assertive communicator. So that's 4 communication styles. And how we show up tells a whole lot, or determines a whole lot, how people respond to us. It will determine whether people are excited to respond to us, or determine whether it also influences how they respond to us. Because remember, it is both ways. How you're showing up is also the same way something is triggering how the next person is showing up. It's possible you do not know your communication style and the person doesn't know their communication styles. And many times when we have conflicts of interests, it turns to conflicts of persons because we move away from the problem, we move away from the trigger of the conflicts and begin to conflict with selves, with persons, many times because there is a challenge, there is a limitation with our communication styles, and there's a limitation with our ability, a restraint in our ability to effectively resolve conflict, which is general and which comes generally when you have to communicate. Because at the end of the day, we're all human. And as humans, when 2 people come together, there must be conflict. Why? Because perspectives and environments that shaped us and beliefs and values differ. So when we're able to understand that, we can come to the communication table to connect, not just to talk. So what is the difference between talking and communication? Talking is what I'm doing. So people have the impression that you're a fantastic communicator when you can phone. We call it phone where I come from in Nigeria. When you can, I went to America the other day. I was living in blah, 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 blah. And then sometimes you almost want to cut your tongue because it doesn't come naturally to some people. For some other people, yes, they have gone to the Obodo, they've been abroad and they're back, and then they have an accent. Sometimes even have people go to India. They don't come back with an Indian accent. They come back with an American accent. How come? Well, all that out of it. But an effective communicator is not determined by how well you can, in our terms, blow phone. It's not determined by how well you can use grammar. It's not determined by how well you can put your phrases and your sentences in proper structure, grammatical structure. Nah, it has nothing to do with that. At the depth of communication is comprehension and connection. How well are you able to find quite important common ground, which is where understanding takes place. Communication does not exist where understanding does not exist. So, what are the things that hinder understanding, and what are the things that hinder connection? What are the things that hinder comprehension, which is pretty much where understanding sits? It's basically tied to our style of, to the style of communicator, the kind of communicator that we are. So, are you a passive communicator? Are you the kind of that you don't like to speak because you're anxious or something, or because you're afraid of something, or you pretty much do not know how to assert yourself, to show up, to confidently explain yourself in the best terms that you can, in the best way that you can? So one of the things that the passive communicator does is constantly avoiding. And you want to ask, why do you avoid? Avoid for fear, avoid because you don't want to stand up to something, because you are anxious about what's going to happen, because you're anxious about what's going to be, because you're anxious about things could turn out. Fear of the unknown makes you run, makes you cower, makes you zip it all up and say nothing and take everything that is thrown to you. The passive communicator, I'd say, is the perfect prey for the aggressive communicator. I'm going to be talking about him or her later. The aggressive communicator is the predator that preys on the prey, who is the passive communicator, and also the passive aggressive communicator. Now, the passive communicator loses anything, does not stand for anything, does not defend themselves, does not explain their position, just takes everything that comes, hook, line, sinker. It's fine so long as there's no quarrel. That's one kind of communicator. Do you communicate like that? Think about it and then write it down. And hey, if you have any questions, do drop it in the comment section and come back to me. The second kind of communicator is the passive aggressive communicator. Passive aggressive communicator is just like the passive communicator who doesn't say anything. But the difference is that while the passive communicator doesn't say anything and takes everything and cowers, they feel they have no power. So they let go of their power because they feel they're not enough. They feel they do not worth anything. So they just let it go. And they have no power to preserve. But the passive aggressive communicator feels the fear, just like the passive communicator feels the anxiety, feels the uncertainty and the fear of the unknown when aggression comes, or when they're not sure of an environment, or sure of a situation, or sure of what a relationship or a job or a business is bringing at them. And pretty much two people are always at the center of communication. What the passive communicator does, the passive aggressive, I beg your pardon, the passive aggressive communicator takes everything that is thrown at him or her, says nothing, but to preserve their power. You know, the passive communicator has no power. The passive aggressive communicator believe that they have power, but they can only use their power in hiding. So what do? They wait when everything is done. When you're done shouting as the aggressive communicator, when you're done having your way, they're going to wait for you at the roundabout. They're going to wait for you somewhere. Or they're the kind of people that put a pin in your chair and watch you from afar while you sit on it and it pokes your butt. They are the kind of people that spit in your coffee when you ask them to make you tea in the office. They are the kind of people that put chewing gum on your chair and look away and get you to sit on it and destroy your fabric. They are not aggressive outwardly. They are subtle with their aggression. So they don't speak, but sometimes I dare say they're more deadly. They act like they don't care. But like I say, they go for the kill when you're not watching. They are the ones that you want to be really scared of, because they're not saying anything and you're just thinking everything is good, nice and dandy with them. But it's not. Now that's one kind. And then the third kind of communicator is the aggressive communicator. Aggression. They have their way by using nasty words, by raising their voice, by shouting their audience down, or their interlocutor, the other person who's speaking with them or who they're speaking to, by shouting them down. And sometimes, and many times, because they want to win, they could move to using aggressive words, foul language, strong words that will break the spirit of the person they're speaking with, that will break the spirit and make the person not able to talk back. So that is how they crush their prey so that they can win. But the truth is, the aggressive communicator, him or herself, also have fears. But the way they preserve their power is by attacking. So they feel that when something threatens them, to defend themselves, they attack. To defend their territory, that's why. Have you ever seen? And I used to be an aggressive communicator. And it took me studying to understand the root cause of talking with aggression and communicating with aggression, because I realized that I had so much I wanted to protect, I had so much I wanted to cover. Growing up, I was the last of 5, And I was from a home where my mother raises her voice to let you know that she ain't gonna take shit from you, pardon my French. And being a single mother, she felt she had to be aggressive to protect her children from outsiders, or from whoever was going to come try to take her children from her, or try to take advantage of her because she was a single mother. So that level of aggression also was all that we saw as children, and it unconsciously seeped into us as well. So when she's heated up, or when she's angry, or she's trying to discipline, she raises her voice. Yeah. And in raising her voice, the elder, every other person tried to show their power to those younger than them, raise their voice. So they raise their voices. So by the time it goes from first to second, second to third, third to fourth, and fourth to last, and all fourth to me, I have no voice. So whoever I see outside that I can show my power to, I'm going to show it to you, because I've been so long quiet in the house and nobody to shout at. I've been the one taking all the shout. Now it's time for me to give the shout. So it took a lot of self-discovery to discover, to realize where I was and how I was communicating with people. And while I was still a 9-to-5, I remember several times my associates who worked with me used to say such things like, you talk down at me, you talk down at people. And I'm like, how am I talking down at you? I'm just telling you to do something. I didn't realize that my tone was aggressive. Up until one day, and I lost my job. I strongly believe I was working in a particular place. And while I do not know why I was fired, because they said their reason for firing me was they just said I don't fit into their way. I'm going to tell that story later. As a matter of fact, that was one of the things that birthed the fullness of me coming to the fullness of who I am and really discovering myself. But one of the things I started to do was ask myself, what really was it that I did that made them fire me? I needed to get to the root of it. So even though they didn't say that, they just said I didn't fit into their way, which had nothing to do with competence or excellence, because I was excellent. It showed in my report and my papers. But it taught me something about my communication style. And I discovered one day when I was speaking, I was doing a recording like this, actually, on my phone for my podcast. And my 8-year-old at the time walked in and started talking, which I had told him, I'm in the middle of a recording, so stay out and don't make noise. But then he just comes and is talking, and then I scold him and tell him, so pretty much I felt I was just shooting him and telling me, hey, remember I told I was recording? I thought I sounded this nice, right? And then I played back the video, and when I heard my voice, when I heard my tone, I was like, wow, is this what I sound like when I am scolding people? Is this what I sound like when I am reprimanding people? I had to call my son, hug him, and apologize. Because at that moment, I told myself, if this was how I sounded to my GM that day, we were having a disagreement on a subject. If I was in his shoes, I would fire me. Because that is nasty. We do not realize that how we show up will determine how people interface with us and how people show up to us. So sometimes we feel victimized, but is it possible that we're showing up in a manner that make people not want to have anything to do with us, regardless of how competent, how beautiful, how shapely, how fantastic you look? Your mouth could be the major thing that is challenging your relationship, your ability to keep that job, your ability to stay in that marriage, your ability to keep that friendship, your ability to do anything in life. Have you checked your manner of speech? Have you checked your communication style? Have you checked how you show up? It's not about talking. It's not about being able to speak English. It's about being able to connect through comprehension and build relationships that last the test of time. So, fourth one of all of them is assertive communicator. The assertive communicator is able to express their feeling, their emotions, their perspectives, their opinion, communicate their reason, express their feeling, not act on the feeling, talk about it without emotional leakage, talk about how they feel, share their opinions, share their perspectives with balance. For them, it's a win-win. The assertive communicator ensures that they find common ground with whoever they're communicating with. They go for collaboration, not competition. I'm going to be talking about 5 strategies by Gilman, 5 strategies of conflict resolution, and how they affect, how they impact your communication style and your ability to build stronger and lasting relationships at your places of work, in your relationships at home, in life in general. Okay, how do we fix this? So I'd like you to think about it. Do think about it. Are you a passive communicator, a passive-aggressive communicator, an aggressive communicator, or an assertive communicator? I'd like you to take time and study your communication patterns. What are you trying to protect? Many times We are actually just trying to protect either our power. It's a song by Beyonce again.
Don't know, but take my power, my power, my power. Don't know, but take.
Trying to preserve our power. We're just trying to. Sometimes it's ego. We feel that when we communicate in a particular style, we could lose our position. We could lose our power. How do you determine that you're losing your power? How do you become more assertive so you're not afraid or lose your confidence or lack courage to communicate your power from your center without bruising yourself and bruising the people around you, but pretty much just communicating from a place of win-win? So let's talk about it. I'd like to share your perspectives. Do drop comments and send me a message to info@StephREDD for more details, to talk about it more, and pretty much just talk about it as much as we can. But communication is important, and that's what I'm going to bring to you on my channel. This is the first one, many more to come. Look out for it. It's going to be fantastic. I'm looking forward to the next time we share this moment. Thank you. Do subscribe if you haven't. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't. Invite people to subscribe to it. And we're going to be having an amazing time together. I'm going to sing a song next time. Tell me, what song would you like me to sing? I've stopped putting all my gifts in the basket. I'm just going to bring it all out. So tell me, what song would you like me to sing? It's an Independence Day today in Nigeria, so I'm just going to sing our national anthem. To serve with heart and mind, one nation bound in freedom, peace and unity. Happy Independence Day. You have an amazing evening. I am StephREDD. Bye.